I've always loved Recess. Definitely one of my favourite shows when I was growing up. I oddly do not remember Recess Miracle on 3rd Street. This was actually released in 2001, kind of when I was the prime age for watching this, but it's just completely passed me by. So I decided to watch it now. And I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed by it, or at least two-thirds of it. I kind of like the premise and the setup, but it lacks Christmas for the most part. I won't spoil it entirely. I won't give away any specifics of the three separate narratives that are within a narrative, but I will explain kind of how the stories are interwoven and what you can expect. So it actually focuses primarily on three teachers, Principal Prickly, Miss Finster, and Miss Grotke, and they're all in the same car. It's Christmas break time, but they're in a huge snowstorm. They have a lot of issues with the car, they have a lot of time on their hands, so they begin to reminisce, I guess, about things they remember involving TJ and friends. The first story that they tell is about the time when TJ was principal for a day, which definitely is an interesting story. And I will say that, all three of the kind of little stories within the narrative are interesting and enjoyable. They're just not necessarily Christmassy, particularly this first one. The second story is about a canned food drive, getting a little bit closer to Christmassy. It's about harvest, it's about giving and helping other people, although it's strictly about the competition between TJ and friends and the Ashleys. And then the third story is a lot more festive. It's very Christmassy. We have a Santa Claus figure, very festive. Mikey in that episode is particularly great. So they tell these three stories, and there's a nice kind of message about, because the teachers kind of, well, not so much Miss Grotke, but certainly Finster and Principal Prickly aren't always favourable of TJ and the gang, particularly TJ. But there's a kind of nice message that even people you think you don't like aren't that bad, and they can give you some fun and interesting memories. That's a nice message, but it's lacking so much Christmas apart from that third story. And I just think if you're going to release a Christmas special, you need to do more than just set the initial narrative in the run up to Christmas break. You kind of need the other stories to be Christmassy, Christmas themed. And it wouldn't have been difficult. They could have just thought back to Christmases they'd had or things they remembered from around Christmas time that involved TJ, etc. They're not exactly in kindergarten. They've been at the school for quite a while. There are definitely going to be some memories. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. But if I hadn't known, or if it hadn't been marketed as being Christmassy and it was just a special, then yeah, I think it's a good selection of stories, a nice mix of anecdotes. It's nice to have the teachers leading the story for once. I think that's a very different dynamic and it works really well. Interesting, if you're a Recess fan, it's a fun trip down memory lane, great mix of characters. The narrative's well told, it's just not festive enough.